This is The Guide Gals, a modern, wedding-focused podcast by the experts at Here Comes the Guide. I'm Chelsea, a designer and inspired creative who's probably racked up over 6,000 hours on Pinterest, and the friend who's going to shoot it to you straight.
And I'm Caroline, a social media manager who is obsessed with dogs as ring bearers and will inevitably cry over your wedding video. We've seen it from all sides. We've been brides, planners, bridesmaids, and have worked with standout brands throughout the industry.
Think of us as an extension of your wedding party and hang out with us as we share the ins, outs, ups, and downs of the road to I Do.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Guide Gals podcast. We're jumping into another episode, and today we're talking all about destination weddings. In a recent episode, I did a solo and we kind of talked a little bit about it, but in today's episode, we really get to dive deep into all things destination weddings.
Yes, destination weddings are so much fun. It's really like you and your guests, like not only are you celebrating a wedding, but you get to have like a whole vacation involved too, so they can just be really exciting.
So exciting and so fun, but also they have a laundry list of logistics, which can be kind of hard. Like already a wedding in general does, but a destination wedding is going to add on some more things so that you can get to your beautiful end goal of an amazing destination wedding, but you're going to want to think about some of these things.
Yeah, and I feel like the checklist is just different from like normal weddings. Yeah, there's just like a lot of different logistics that you have to think about, but we have put together a comprehensive checklist, of course, so you can be sure that you aren't forgetting any of these important details. So we've broken these things down. We've broken this list down into a timeline leading up to the wedding day, so you can make sure that you're on track throughout the entire planning process.
Yes, yeah, but before we jump into all of those details that we have for you, what are we drinking today?
Chelsea is drinking a Dunkin' Donuts iced coffee.
Ooh.
Life hack. I got this yesterday. Okay, like the ice melted, but it's gonna be okay. Yesterday I went through the drive-through and I got two so that I didn't have to go again. And I put one in the fridge and now I'm drinking it.
Yes.
So, good stuff.
Love. I do that sometimes too. That is smart. Today I have an Olipop right now. I have Tropical Punch.
Yum.
This one only has 3 grams of sugar. Health goddess over here. I actually really do love
You're
Olipop.
so healthy.
We're going to be tagging you in some of these materials because you should absolutely sponsor us because we are just genuinely obsessed.
I love
yeah. Olipop.
If you looked in my fridge right now, not giving you a fridge tour, but if you did look in there, I have a lot of the strawberry vanilla flavor Olipops. They're my favorite.
I have
best.
I have the fruit variety pack. So I have grape, orange, tropical punch, and lemon lime. That's been a good mix. And I also like the crisp apple. We could go on a rabbit hole.
I tried
with this.
that, I think.
Yes.
At your house.
At my house.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I like it.
It's awesome. Okay, enough of that. Sorry. We could talk about beverages all day.
All day.
But we're going to start out with, like I said, we broke this down into a timeline. So you'll be able to kind of start out. So start out from the farthest point. So we're going to start at 12 to 16 months until the wedding day. So step 1 is going to be working out your budget. So this includes most of the typical wedding items, but the difference here is that you're going to have to include travel expenses like airfare and accommodation. So like I said, with destination weddings, there's like a whole other can of worms that has to be opened, and that's a big one. You're also going to want to draft up your guest list. So you're going to want to draft this up and it'll be directly related to your budget. So you're going to have to decide, since it is a destination wedding, are you inviting just as many people as you would if it was in your hometown, or does that look different? And if you're drafting up a guest list too, are like, what expenses are you paying for? What are you expecting your guests to pay for? Especially if you're expecting your guests to pay for all of the travel expenses, which is totally okay if that's the expectation there. You might expect that, you might make a pretty long guest list with a lot of people that you want to invite, but it might shrink a little bit just because it's a big ask sometimes, depending. Also, like if it's in a different country, that's a huge ask, for people to travel for your wedding. So I think with this too, like getting that guest list made early and getting those RSVPs as early as possible too makes a big difference when it's a destination wedding. You're going to want to also decide on the country or region that you'd like to get married in. That's huge. Where are you going to go? You want to check which seasons have the best weather. Make sure there's like, you're not going somewhere in like hurricane season.
Yeah.
That's important. You're also going to want to talk about marriage license options with your fiance. So marriage requirements vary from country to country. They range from blood tests. We're not kidding. There can also be waiting periods and extra fees. So unless you're planning on running to your nearest courthouse for a civil ceremony prior to the actual wedding celebration, you'll want to make sure that you choose your country, figure out what the requirements are for that country, and do some real research there to make sure that you don't show up for this special day and like for some reason you can't actually get married. That'd probably be a bummer. Yeah. You also want to make sure that you and your fiance have all of your passports, your travel visas, all of that needs to be sorted as soon as possible. If you don't have like passports or anything in place already, if they're like not current, start the process like right away. I think COVID like really changed some stuff with passports, and I think that now like the waiting period I think is just longer to get brand new passports. So don't wait around on that, because if you don't have your passport, you are not leaving this country. Also, a little piece of advice, hire a planner. It is much more complicated. Like we said, there's a whole other can of worms to open up when you're planning a destination wedding. So hiring a planner, especially one who has experience in planning destination weddings, is going to help you out so much. They're a professional. They understand all of these things. You can read through this checklist as many times as you want, but that planner is probably going to even have like more extensive advice and pointers for you. Also, booking a travel agent can be super helpful, especially a travel agent that specializes in not planning weddings, but helping coordinate sort of. They're not coordinator either, but one that has experience in these types of events. They can also help to like negotiate with your venue to get like perks, upgrades, the best pricing available. So stuff to really keep in mind. You're also going to want to secure your wedding venue and your date as soon as possible. So you want to get all the details in writing, send in the deposit if it's needed. It's great also if you're able to make a pre-wedding trip out there to see the venue in person. That's not always possible, but it would be like a really fun like engagement celebration trip to go out there and see it, be able to picture it in real life. Of course, that's not like a total necessity to do that, but it can be really fun and like give you a lot of peace of mind with like knowing what to expect when you actually get there. And you also need to figure out if you need wedding insurance. You want to check with the venue that you choose about liability insurance, consider other options like cancellation insurance as well. Check back on our questions to ask a wedding venue episode, which is right before this one. All of those questions can absolutely still apply to venues, even if they're like in another country. You want to still ask those questions. Also, reserve your honeymoon suite. Get that out of the way. If it's at the same venue that you're getting married at, you can do this at the same time of booking your wedding. So yeah, that is 12 to 16 months wrapped up for you. It's a long to-do list of things, but at that point, those are all of the things that you and your partner should be thinking about and kind of getting squared away.
Yeah. And honestly, especially if you're going out of the country, the sooner the better, even if you're planning way far out in advance, thinking about these logistics now. But then also, if you are doing still like if you live within the US and you're traveling to another destination within the US, still a destination wedding, but you may not have to worry about pieces like passports or like the other logistics with what do you need for a wedding ceremony, stuff like that.
Yeah. And also like talking about that, of course, like when you are doing those things in this, 12 to 16 month out period, like it can seem like, okay, this is getting like really complicated, but a lot of destination wedding spots, especially ones in other countries, will come with some sort of like all-inclusive like resort type option where a lot of the planning details are figured out for you, which is really great. Of course, you do have to make sure you have a lot of that stuff, or all of that stuff really still squared away. Destination weddings can make for like kind of a one-stop shop sometimes, like having like a really all-inclusive package. So
Yeah, for
it
sure.
can be really nice.
All right, moving to 9 to 11 months out, so just under a year away from your big day, you're going to want to recruit your wedding party. And not just the people who are going to be a part of your wedding party, also making sure that they have those travel necessities if they need a passport or whatever else is going on. You'll also want to send out save the dates around this time frame. Typically, if it is, not a destination wedding and it's in your area, you may send to save the dates out later, but for anything where travel is involved, sending out as soon as possible is actually better. That just gives everybody plenty of time to set aside, if they need to take PTO, if they need to make other accommodations, or if they want to be like, oh, I need to save up some miles, whatever that may be.
Right.
Letting them know sooner rather than later is super important. And it's also important for you to get a gauge of who is going to be able to make it. So just with destination, everything is moved up a little bit faster. Setting us up a room block. You have probably already looked into some of those accommodations already within the earlier time frame, the like 12 to 16 months that Chelsea was just talking about. So you can also now get together and figure out what you need for a room block, and deciding what is the best hotel accommodations for your guests. Then you're going to want to create a wedding website that includes all of these details. You want all of the travel details. Once you set up the room block, get those accommodations on there, include local maps, airport information, registry details, weather, so guests know what to pack. I think it's
Your
really
guests are going to love you for having that in place.
Yes,
Yeah.
put that in there early. I would especially get pretty specific on airport, especially if it's not a well-known travel place, I guess. I remember my friend's destination wedding where like we could have gone to two different ones, but one was easier and we weren't sure which one we should choose. So just get really granular on the details on your wedding website. You're also going to want to plan any wedding related events. Destination weddings require travel for a lot of the guests. So naturally, they become longer celebrations. You might want to host additional events. You may want to turn it into a full-blown wedding weekend. So you might have a welcome dinner, a brunch one day. I think we talked in one of our previous episodes about this one destination wedding I saw. They did a boat day together with all of their guests. Like, you're going to want to start planning these things because then you can include them on your RSVP cards. You want to plan all of those events, those parties, because you're going to need guest counts for each of those events. And some guests may make it to some, and some guests may not make it to any, and everything in between. So just make sure you're planning those events and getting that information out as quickly as possible. And if you're going to include registry information on your website, you're going to want to create that registry.
Yeah.
Just keep in mind that your registry may look a little bit different because guests are traveling. So sometimes guests will bring, of course, this big box of a blender that they got you from your registry. You may need to set it up or set reminders on your website at wherever that like, don't bring the gifts to the wedding necessarily.
Yeah.
Bring a card. A card is probably something that you can accommodate, but just be aware that like, unless you want to take on the logistics of bringing all of these gifts home with you, just start talking about that and let everyone know that maybe they don't even need to bring a present. Maybe their presence is just enough.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, like if something to know, you can always put on your registry or on your website that like maybe you have a registry that you created with like those physical gifts like blenders and whatever else like of the sort. But you could have on there that you prefer for it to be shipped to your home, and people will do that. Not everyone will do that. Like there will be people that will still show up to your wedding with a big box and will expect you to figure out how, I mean, that sounds like you're ungrateful for the gift. I don't mean it that way, but people are just going to kind of do their own thing, or they're not going to realize that they kind of like broke the rule or did it differently than you requested. So yeah, just keep in mind that even if you request certain things, people are still going to bring gifts to the wedding, and you're going to have to figure out a way to get those home. So I know like a blender, I'm imagining like shipping a blender would cost a lot of money, and like figuring out how to put it in your luggage would also be like really complicated.
Yes.
So you could always opt for asking for like gift cards to certain places where you might be registered at, or like finding a kind way to request like cash only, like monetary gifts only, like
Right.
like something like that.
Yeah,
It might make things easier on you.
for sure. Then you're going to want to say yes to the dress, find your tux, whatever it is you're wearing. And of course, taking that ceremony and reception location into account. If you need to carry it onto an airplane, a huge ball gown may not be the right idea for you. So also keeping in
Yeah.
mind some of those packing details. And if you want
Right,
to have
and you're gonna want to carry it on. That's the thing.
Yeah.
You don't want to lose your wedding dress.
Yeah.
You don't want the airlines to lose your luggage that
Yeah.
has your wedding dress in it. So that's something to keep in mind too.
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you want to have multiple outfits, you're gonna you just have to think about the logistics of the spacing for that. And also to go along with that travel aspect, purchasing your tickets ahead of time as soon as possible, get early bird discounts, keep your eye on any sales or things. I wouldn't fly Spirit or Frontier for this. Like get a reliable airline, and also maybe get yourself a little upgrade, because that can be an amazing part of your traveling. Yeah, so get on that. Also, you're going to want to work with your coordinator or your planner to start finding those vendors. There could be a lot of different things involved in that. If you're bringing in a vendor from another place, they may incur travel fees. You might book some vendors there, like in that physical location. So you may need to have other meetings and virtual things. So you might have to do some online consultations for that. So just start this process here, because there's always a lot of vendors, and you may be able to fly some in, but you may need to also work with some there. So start those conversations in that 9 to 11 month time frame.
Okay, now we are at that 6 to 8 month out mark. So here is the time we're going to want to take engagement photos if you'd like. This can be with your wedding photographer if they're local to you. I feel like that's really cool and special when wedding photographers offer that. Then you have photos that are like the same style, the same vibe. I love when they do both. Otherwise, you might need to hire another photographer for just an engagement session if you are working with a wedding photographer that is in that destination where you're getting married. You're also going to want to work with your venue or your caterer to figure out the menu. So unless you're able to fly out there before the wedding, you probably won't get a tasting until you arrive, like if at all. So you probably won't have a tasting, and that's okay. But you're going to want to talk to the caterer and the venue and figure that out. This might be a place where you ask extra questions, like more questions than you would, obviously, if you would have gotten that tasting, to make sure that the food is what you're going to expect or what you would like. Now, you're also going to want to book the rehearsal and the rehearsal dinner locations. Destination wedding etiquette usually involves inviting everyone in attendance to the rehearsal dinner or some sort of pre-wedding event, kind of like welcoming them to the wedding. These destination weddings usually become more of like a weekend wedding celebration. Just because everyone is in the same place, which is really great. You probably will get more quality time with your guests out of this. But yeah, typically everyone is invited to something like that. You'll also want to schedule your dress fitting and get your wedding party attire. This also includes flower girls, ring bearers. So keep that in mind. Now is when you're also going to want to order your wedding invitations. You want to give guests plenty of time to RSVP. This is also going to help you with that finalized guest count. You're going to want to also point them to your wedding website for full details. Like Caroline mentioned, get as granular as possible on here. You want full details on accommodations, transportation, local attractions, especially like people are going to be like, where are we going to eat? Aside from like the wedding dinner. Any wedding events that you're planning, dress code, and gift registries. Especially, yeah, people need to know what to pack as well for this trip. You're also going to want to set dates and locations for bridal showers and your bachelorette parties. Create your guest list for these events and let your maid of honor or your best man handle the rest. You'll also want to book your wedding day transportation if it's needed. If your room block is at a separate location, you might need to get like a shuttle service for your guests from place to place. You'll want to continue booking your vendors. So definitely have your photographer and caterer locked in by now. Those should be checked off the list. But you'll also probably want to start looking into booking the following if you haven't already. This includes an officiant, your florist, DJ or band, cake maker, videographer, rentals and linens if you need those, hairstylist, makeup artist if you're going to have that. And then the last step here at this 6 to 8 month mark is reviewing all of your contracts and getting everything in writing, and like seriously everything. Get everything signed, get everything in writing, review it all, make sure you understand it all.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Everything. Literally everything. I just realized I have been saying this, and then listening to Chelsea in this last one, we keep saying gonna wanna. I'm literally like, if you guys took a shot every time we said gonna wanna in this episode so far, you'd be
I'd probably
dead.
recommend you don't do that. Yeah.
I just, because I kept trying not to say it. So if
Maybe
guys,
switch it up.
I know if I pause during this, it's just because I'm trying to think of something else to say than gonna wanna. Anyways.
Let's expand the vocabulary.
I know. Cool. All right, a little bit of a shorter list in this 3 to 5 months to go. But first you're going to, I almost said gonna wanna. You're going to start scheduling any information or any informal recreational activities. This is totally optional, but if you're going to be in a tropical paradise like we talked about before, you could go on a boat day. That sounds amazing. Or a snorkeling excursion. I feel like I'd be into that. That sounds like fun. So just update your wedding website to inform guests that like there are more things being offered, or let other people know, hey, this group is getting together. If you want to be a part of it, just let us know. Then you also want to purchase your wedding rings and any other accessories, your veil, your shoes, undergarments, anything else. And a super fun part is to finalize those honeymoon plans. Maybe you're staying longer in the destination you're at, or maybe you'll be traveling elsewhere. So if you're traveling elsewhere after that, more logistics will be involved, of course. But if you're staying there, maybe it's actually pretty easy. But just finalize any and all of those plans.
Okay, now we're on to 6 to 8 weeks before the wedding day. I have a list to start out with the things that you're going to want to... Oh my God.
I know,
You're so
right?
right.
Yeah.
I have a list of the things that you should finalize and confirm. Your flight and your hotel bookings, your guest RSVPs and meal choices, your wedding vows and readings with your officiant, the shot list for your photographer and your videographer, menu, beverage, and catering details, all rental delivery times and pickups, a song list for ceremony, cocktail hour, and reception with your DJ and or bands and musicians. This also includes a do not playlist if you have one of those. Timeline for the reception and who's giving the toasts. Next on the list is getting any required vaccines before traveling to your destination. Just another one of those things to think about. Also, do you have all necessary legal documents in hand? This might include passports, birth certificates, visas, anything else to make your destination wedding legit. Order, I almost said gonna wanna again, so that's why I'm pausing now. Order the wedding favors for your guests. Buy the gifts for your wedding party and the parents of the couple. Also, if you want to get a gift for your fiance, now's the time to do it. Get that squared away. Arrange welcome bags for your guests if you're going to do that. Like I said, it a lot of times is common practice with these destination weddings that everyone kind of meets when they get there, and having some sort of welcome bag can be really cute. It might include like a welcome note, an itinerary, maps, locally made treats. That's really fun. Travel sized essentials. Like if you're going somewhere tropical, maybe you'll get them some sunscreen or like something like that, or like a cool hat. I don't know. You don't have to break the bank, but
No. But
it can be
little
really
details,
cute.
Yes, they're so cute. I love them. Now we're getting closer to the day. We are 3 to 5 weeks out from the wedding. And so send anything you can't take with you on the plane to the on-site wedding coordinator. So things like reception decorations, those favors, the welcome bags, paper goods. Make sure they are sent off with a trusted and timely shipping method, and get insurance for those packages. So if you don't have somebody who's on site, you may have to look into some other third-party options for things that you can do to send it there. But it's just nice to know that the things have made it there safely and not in a last minute jam if things don't make it there. Then you're going to pick up those wedding rings, proofread any engravings that you get on those, and grab any of those additional accessories and things that you need. Have the final dress fitting, bring your shoes, undergarments, and accessories so you get the full impact, so you have all of that together so you know if you need to change anything. You will have to hunt down anyone who hasn't RSVP'd yet. If they haven't RSVP'd by the 3 to 5 weeks out, like, they maybe shouldn't come, but, you know, hunt them down, make sure. And then start putting a packing list together so you have plenty of time that none of the things get overlooked. You're not hunting down double-sided tape the day before you take off. In the 3 to 5 weeks, create that checklist, grab all those items, and you'll be good to go.
Yeah, heavy on that. Get your packing list together, because you will thank your future self, I think, for that. Yes. So that you're not scrambling around. That sounds so stressful.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to 1 to 2 weeks to go. First, you're going to want to make sure, pick up your gown, tux, or suit. Confirm your flight numbers and arrival times for all of the key players in your wedding. Finalize seating arrangements and have a seating chart or place cards created. Put together your own wedding emergency kit, including things like hairspray, maybe, you know, feminine hygiene products, whatever you need.
Eyelash glue.
Yeah, that double-sided tape Caroline mentioned. You're also, speaking of like emergencies or unfortunate happenings, check the weather report. If things look iffy, contact your venue. Make sure that they have a contingency plan in place. Start packing for your wedding and your honeymoon. The earlier the better, seriously. Plan outfits for the different wedding festivities. These are big moments in your life. There's going to be lots of pictures taken. You want to make sure that you're both comfortable and you really feel confident in what you're wearing. Also, make sure that you have the proper electrical converters so you can plug in your devices.
Yeah.
You don't want your phone to be dead like the whole time. That would be really unfortunate. Might be a blessing, actually. No one would bother you. Figure out tips and final payments for your vendors. We do have a guide on our blog about tipping wedding vendors, best practices there if you're confused there. But what's not in that guide is tipping from like country to country. If you're going to a foreign country, sometimes stuff is different there. So that's something to do some Googling about, or even ask your venue, or if you have a coordinator planner, they probably know. Also, if you're in desperate need of a facial or a massage, now's a great time to squeeze it in.
Always a great time. All right, we're getting closer. We have less than a week and 4 to 5 days to go to the wedding. You're getting on the airplane. You're going to get there early. You're going to get settled in there. So make sure you have everything packed. We've talked about this so many times. Double, triple check, put air tags in your luggage so you know where things are if they do get lost, just things like that. So then you'll arrive at the wedding destination, and you do really want to get there a few days ahead of time so that you can do the walkthrough of the ceremony and reception venue, meet with the coordinator, other vendors. You might need to apply for your marriage license at this time, have any tastings with caterer or cake makers, make sure welcome bags are delivered to guest room. Maybe you're going to do your makeup and hair trial at this point. And again, get a mani-pedi. Do something for yourself.
Yeah, and I would say prioritize rest as well during this time. If you get there a few days early, there might be the crazy time change. Make sure that you get some extra sleep, take some time to relax if you can, so that way you feel like full of energy on your big day. Okay, the day before. Now is when you need to have your wedding dress or suit steamed. You want to remove any of those travel wrinkles that ended up there. You'll have your rehearsal dinner. Now, if you got any of those gifts, is the time to give out those like welcome gifts. That might be at the rehearsal dinner. If you have some sort of other welcome event, that's when you would give those out. And like I just mentioned, prioritize rest. Go to bed early the night before your wedding. You need your beauty sleep. Totally necessary.
Yes. And then it's the day of. So, of course, you're going to allow plenty of time to get ready. Don't forget to get all of those things out that you're going to need for the day. Make sure someone's in charge of maybe the rings, the marriage license. Assign those things to somebody else. I wouldn't want you to worry about that, but those things do need to get taken care of. And do the rounds, like really, especially at destination weddings, make sure you're thanking people for coming. It's a big deal that they took time off of work or came all the way out to celebrate you. That is a big deal, and thanking them is just a small gift of appreciation to them. And enjoy the day. Like, you've done so much planning for months and months and months and months. Enjoy it. Stop and enjoy it with your spouse and just be in the moment. And then after that, honeymoon, happy ever after, the perfect wedding, the perfect marriage. That's what I'm speaking into existence for all of you.
Yes, we're manifesting all of that for you. Yeah.
So we hope this list makes you feel super prepared. We went through a lot of different things and probably could have talked at length about any and all of these details, but we also do have a free downloadable version of this checklist that can be found on the website. So if you weren't furiously scratching down notes, don't worry. Like, we have a full list for you to come back to. And I know for me, it's easier sometimes to have something tangible as a guide than just listening to an episode over and over again.
Yeah, I'm a tangible person too. I need to write things down. I need to have it for real. But yeah, this was a super fun episode to talk about. I know we're both like very like checklisty kind of people. We like to be very prepared. So listing out all of these things, there's a lot of things that I know that I would never have thought about when it comes to this. But destination weddings are so cool. I still haven't been invited to one, so like, let me know. But I hope it was helpful. Yeah, I hope it was helpful to you guys. If you want to listen to any of our other episodes, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts at the Guide Gals Podcast. We also have every episode in a video format, so you can find that on YouTube, on the Here Comes the Guide YouTube channel. We're on social media. We're on Instagram at the Guide Gals Podcast. We're on TikTok at the Guide Gals Pod, and you can check out our website, theguidegalspodcast.com, where we have, like we mentioned, lots of free printables. You can print out our entire freebie bundle and have that tangible piece of wedding planning supplies. And we have our full episode library there too. You can also reach out to us on our website, on that contact page, or on Instagram. And just let us know if you guys have any questions, if you have any stories to share. We love to hear from you guys. And yeah, I think that's all for today.
Love it. Yes, there were so many things in here. Can't wait to catch up with you guys on Instagram, on our website, wherever. But really, until next time, cheers.
Yeah, cheers.